Hi, I'm Anne Marie Coons, and this is my Module 5, Understanding My Community, Teton Middle School. My community is historically a conservative rural community. However, in the past 20 years, we've experienced quite a bit of growth, and we are changing to a more liberal community. Our minority population has continued to grow as well. Sometimes change has been hard in our community, and there's been a divide created at times depending on the issues at hand. Academics and athletics, however, are supported across the board in our community, which I'm super thankful for. Outdoor recreation is a big part of our community culture as well as a draw for tourists. You can do everything here from ski, mountain bike, hike, fish, float the river. Basically anything you want to do outdoors is available here. As you can see from the picture I've included, we live on the beautiful Idaho side of the Teton Mountain Range. We also are a big agricultural community where we have a pretty big farming economy as well as community things like a county fair, an active rodeo club, and 4-H groups. Our community also hosts large events such as our Independence Day celebration, which we just celebrated, where thousands of people come to our valley as tourists just to celebrate because there are some really great events going on. We also hold a hot air balloon festival during the summer and a Driggs snowscapes activity in the winter. The total population estimate for 2017 for our valley is 11,381 people. The education level here is 91.2% are high school graduates or have gone on after that. 40% of our population has earned their bachelor's degree or higher. Under 18 years old makes up 25.6% of our population. 65 years old and over make up 11.2% of our population, and ages 18 to 64 years make up the rest of our population at 63.2%. We're approximately half and half female and male. This is also reflected, these numbers are reflected in our student populations, which include 70% white students, 28% Hispanic students, and 1% other. We also have 12.5% of our students are English language learners and 12% are special education students. Known communication channels. Some community groups and organizations here in Teton Valley are our Community Foundation of Teton Valley, and that supports the entire valley. We have a Family Safety Network, Rotary Club of Teton Valley Foundation, Teton Valley Trails and Pathways, and they're a pretty influential group in our community. Teton Valley Recreation Association, the Teton Regional Economic Coalition, which is bringing things like a really cool geotourism center to our valley. Friends of the Teton's Public Library are those that will fundraise and get funding for our community libraries. We also have a Teton Valley Education Foundation that strictly helps fund through grants educational projects here in our community for our school district. We also have a Teton Valley Mental Health Coalition, and we have a pretty strong set of providers in the coalition. We've had in the past dealt with a lot of suicide in our community, and so this mental health coalition has come together to offer services to people and families at times of crisis. These groups have varying influence and in our community, as well as varying levels of cooperation, as can it be expected, depending on the issues that are at hand or the types of perhaps things that they're trying to get passed in our community. We have few problem organizations. We do have a few activist type groups in our valley that have very strong influence and are run by very influential people in our community, and they have had a lot of influence in our community. Like I said earlier, I live in a rural community, and our community leadership, it consists of our county commissioners, of which we only have 3. We have a city council for each of the 3 cities that make up our county, our valley. We also have a county sheriff's office. These groups of leadership influence all citizens here in our valley. Our school leadership consists of our school board, our superintendent, our school principals, and the employees and students are influenced by the decisions that these leadership bodies make. Community leader characteristics and school leader characteristics are very similar. They're both available to the public via phone, email, making appointments, etc. They are both decision makers for our community. The community leaders make city and county decisions, where the school leaders make decisions for schools. Both groups of leaders are accountable to our community. The community leaders because they are elected, and the school leaders because our community makes up our stakeholders. The school leaders are also accountable to the state. They both encourage participation up from the public in board meetings or council meetings, and the school actually also encourages activity and participation through different parent committees. Because we live in a small community, community leaders have to be very diligent because votes can be swayed very easily, specifically in instances where the county commissioners are voting on something. We only have 3 county commissioners and 1 vote basically makes the vote. For school leaders, it can be tricky because it's hard to please everybody, the old residents that have been here forever, as well as these new residents that are moving in. It can also be hard because in such a small community, you truly do know the majority of the people, and sometimes decisions that school leaders have to make seem personal to some of the public, unfortunately. As for economic conditions here in our valley, we have a workforce of approximately 5,000 people, and of that workforce, 2.5% are unemployed. Teton County per capita income is $31,023, and that's lower than the state of Idaho, and again, even lower than the United States per capita income. Our median household income here is $53,474. People in poverty in our community make up 9.7%. Also, we have in our schools a 43.5% of the population on free and reduced lunch. In a small community like ours, it is hard to separate politics from education. Our school board elections in the past actually have been very political. However, our community is very pro-education. We currently have a $420,000 5-year supplemental plant facility levy, and our community this spring just passed a $30,050,000 bond by almost 80%, with an additional $7.23 million bond that passed with just over 77%. And that second bond was contingent on the passage of the first, and this bond will go towards building new schools and making additions and safety additions to the current schools. Our community is very aware that this will be paid through our property tax assessments, and understanding of funding in schools is pretty evident in our community, specifically right now because of all of the advertising and education that our district did over the past year to try to get this bond passed. We have very little racial tension in our community. We don't have any gangs to speak of. However, there are some cliques. We have some contention between groups that consider themselves either hippies or rednecks, and there has been a little bit of tension over public land use in those groups. We have some cultural discrimination, and I haven't really experienced that myself or seen it myself. However, some of my Hispanic students have talked to me about the way they've been treated or their parents have been treated at businesses or different places in our valley. Some of the causes of these social tensions include misunderstanding cultural differences. Some of it is racial discrimination, and there have been some religious differences that have had created some social tension in the past. However, the religious differences are getting much better. Our student population is mostly white students with 28% Hispanic students. And several of those Hispanic students are English language learners. Here are some extra sources of information, and I've categorized them as school sources and then community sources. The school has different information about just our school in general, strategic plan, school board meeting and minutes, our bond information, and there are actually bond updates on the website. just to keep the public informed as we move forward since they passed our bond. Our community sources include community information, county census information, different community resources that are listed here in a directory, and our Teton Valley Chamber of Commerce. The power structures, here I decided to discuss the power structure specific to Teton Middle School. Our power structure begins with students and parents and then builds up to teachers and staff and then goes up to team leaders and our school leadership team, and then to our principal, then to the superintendent, and then to the school board, who ultimately answers to the public or our stakeholders, which is shown by the arrow that then that power kind of loops back. And some of these groups have more influence or more power than others at different times, specifically depending on issues at hand or decisions that are being made. Our district does a pretty good job of addressing needs of our cultural communities. We have this growing Hispanic population, and our school has really strived to help make connections and build relationships with our Hispanic community. We just got a Hispanic Cultural Center here in our community that we work closely with to host events and activities. Our school does host regular events that are put on by our ELL coordinator, and these are events that educate the parents, like how to access their students' grades. We have a great online grading program, how to get school contact information and people they can call who speak Spanish to get them the information they need. They also use this as a time to discover different talents and things that the Hispanic community have that they can bring into our system. They're also just really fun, and they include pizza and childcare, and that's mainly because they're held in the evenings. A lot of parents work, and they come to these meetings right after work, and so by providing something to eat and providing a place for their kids to go really helps increase the attendance at these events. We also have started a dual language program here in our community, and it is just a couple years old, and it's proving to be pretty successful. As far as weaving different cultures into our school, all of the displays, menus, emails, any publication, any notification that goes home is sent home in English as well as Spanish. We also celebrate several traditional American as well as Hispanic holidays and different customs in our school. We also make sure that we provide translators at every parent-teacher conference and any parent meeting. And we also try to provide translator information to parents so that if they need to contact the school at any given time, they have the resources to do so. The power structure here in our community can at times be aligned with political parties, specifically the school board and or our public, and they let those political ideals or issues drive the decisions that are being made or drive their comments and influence. Decisions that influence through rewards and punishments are basically in the power of our school board as well as our administration. Schools sometimes must learn to just live with situations. However, in our district, we do have a policy and procedures in place where we can express concerns with our higher ups, whether if it's parents, they can talk to teachers or talk to administrators. As stated in the example presentation, the best protection against power structure pressures on financial and other decisions is to be proactive, have a well-planned, carefully implemented program in school community relations. And this in our community, specifically at Teton Middle School, is evident in our Teton Middle School vision and plan and our specific department visions and plans. We have had the opportunity to make plans and present those to the school board, such as what we want to do for professional development or how we want to use our department funds, and they have been very open to our plans and suggestions. There are different ways to measure public perception. One can be formal surveys, either printed or digital, given by the district or given by the state. You can also survey people informally through parent communications, email, conversations, whatever you talk about at parent-teacher conference. And these things are all vital to assessing the public opinion. I've listed here the current public opinion surveys that are available in my district. There's an administrator evaluation, a classroom teacher evaluation, a request to appear at a board meeting if you have a specific topic you'd like to talk about. At the middle school, we also give a parent-teacher conference survey every quarter so that we can get current parent feedback, as well as giving out an annual student satisfaction survey. The last few slides include my references. Thank you for listening.